According to Forbes, delivery drivers have one of the most dangerous jobs in the United States. And in fact, out of the 10 most dangerous, we have the highest number of fatalities yearly. In this video, I'm going to share a couple of sketchy situations that I've found myself in, as well as give you a couple of tips to help you not become a statistic. What's going on, everybody? I'm Zach Drives Fast for the RideShare Guy, and in this video, we're going to cover arguably the most important aspect of doing gig work: safety. Before we get too far into the video, I want to take a moment and talk about one of the few apps out there that's actually looking out for us: Solo. Solo is an app that'll tell you the best times to drive in your market, and they'll also tell you how much you can expect to earn. Should you fall short of their estimate, they will cut you a check for the difference. Check out Solo by clicking the link in the description, enjoy more consistent earnings, and you'll be helping support the RideShare Guy in the process. When you think of the 10 most dangerous jobs, what comes to mind? For me, just a few of them were a police officer, a firefighter, or a deep-sea welder, but surprisingly, none of them made the list. But we did. I guess it makes sense if you think about it. We drive far more miles than the average person does, and that puts us at risk of accidents. Accidents that, unfortunately, sometimes can be fatal. But it's not just accidents that put us at risk. We could be summoned just about anywhere by anyone, and if the person ordering has nefarious intentions, we could easily become a statistic. I want to share a couple of experiences that I had that ultimately turned out okay, but could have ended very badly. A few years back, I accepted a Grubhub order, got it picked up, and made my way to the delivery address. But with this specific order, I made a mistake. I didn't check the delivery address or the delivery instructions before I left the restaurant. A rookie mistake on my part, but a mistake I learned from nonetheless. I didn't check the address until I was less than half a mile away from dropping it off, and when I finally did check the delivery address, it wasn't an address, but rather a delivery range. I then checked the delivery instructions, which told me to deliver to a certain motel. A condemned motel, with a fence around it. Me being naive and wanting to assume the best, I made the assumption that it was probably going to a construction worker, but it wasn't. It was going to a squatter. When I got there, the fence was wide open, so I could drive right up. One of the first things I noticed was almost all of the doors and windows were boarded up. They also had bright orange fluorescent signs that presumably said, "Condemned, no trespassing." I saw a head poke out of one of the very few rooms that wasn't boarded up, so once again, I made an assumption which fortunately turned out to be right, and I pulled up to my customer. Now, when I say condemned crack motel, I'm not exaggerating. It was a condemned crack motel, complete with broken beer bottles and needles on the ground. This happened in the middle of the day, but yet I was still sketched out. I could see a group of men standing on the second floor, staring at me, presumably wondering who I was and what I was doing there. I got the order delivered and I booked it out of there. Now, I'm not a small guy. I'm 6'2" and fairly stocky, and I was still sketched out. Let me ask you this. Do you think that this situation could have played out different if it was a female, say 5'2"? Fortunately, it's not something we need to find out, but it's something to think about. Well, this motel is long gone. The lesson I learned persists. Always check the delivery address and instructions before you leave the restaurant. In the event that you forget to check the delivery instructions and you start your delivery, you are still not committed to this order. If at any point you feel sketched out or unsafe, turn around, take it back to the store and call support and tell them they will be unassigning you from the order. Here's a quick tip for you. All modern cell phones can share your location, so use the feature. Make sure that there's always somebody who can check in on you and who knows where you are. If you have an iPhone and you need to call 911 quickly and discreetly, you can press the unlock button on your phone rapidly 5 times, and you can simply slide a menu, and you'll be connected with 911. No one else will be any the wiser. I've seen far too many news stories where somebody was in the wrong place at the wrong time, or they got summoned somewhere, got carjacked, or unfortunately, far worse. It's perfectly acceptable for you to have no-go areas or places that you avoid at night. Your safety is not worth $10. I'd like to share one more story that I've never told before that also could have ended poorly. Maybe I'm getting old, but I can't remember if this happened last summer or the summer before, but it doesn't really matter for the purpose of the story. I accepted a shop and pay for Safeway on DoorDash, and I made my way to the store and started shopping the order when I got a text from my customer. They were messaging me, giving me the opportunity to unassign the order because there was a person passed out across their sidewalk leading up to their front door. First and only time that that's ever happened. You can't make this shit up. They told me that if I could get the order delivered, that there would be an additional cash tip for me, so I thought, what the hell? And I continued shopping the order. My assumption was, one of the neighbors had a little too much fun the night before, and they decided to leave dude where he lay. Oh, how wrong I was. When I pulled up, sure enough, there was a dude sprawled out, passed out across the sidewalk. Here's the problem. They were doing construction on the house, so there was a pile of stuff in the yard, making it impossible for me not to step over this guy. I couldn't go around him. I had to go over him. Now, the gentleman who initially lacked consciousness who was impeding my path. Let's take a moment to talk about that guy. He looked to be about my age, wasn't wearing a shirt, had face tattoos and sores all over his body. Basically, somebody that I didn't want to be anywhere near, but unfortunately, I had to make about 3 trips back and forth to the car. On my third and final trip to the front door, he woke up. Fortunately, the homeowner was outside grabbing their groceries and noticed that Sleeping Beauty had reanimated, and they discreetly told me, which is great because my back was to him. Now, fortunately, this guy woke up in a far better mood than I tend to, which is great because I had a very brief interaction with him on my way back to the car. It was pleasant, but I also treated him with kindness and respect. But I have to wonder, what if it were somebody else? Seriously though, shout out to that customer for giving me a heads up and for the extra $20 they tipped in cash. I'm telling this story because I made a massive mistake when the customer texted me. Rather than asking questions, I made an assumption. Now, on this one, I did have ample warning. However, if I legitimately felt that it was a serious risk to my safety, even after I got there, I could have turned right back around and taken the order back to the store. One mistake that I see both new and experienced drivers make all the time is to ask support what they should do, rather than telling support what they are going to do for us. It's in the name. Support. They are there to support us. We do not answer to them. We don't work for them. They are there to make our lives easier. If you find yourself in a situation like this, screw privacy. Get on the phone with somebody and tell them exactly where you are. You can do this with a friend or with ADT. Just don't go posting the customer's name and address on the internet, and you should be fine. If you do a Google search for crime statistics in your area, you can typically find heat maps of areas that you may want to consider avoiding. Personally, I've got a couple of areas that I try to avoid because the money just isn't worth my safety. In hindsight, I probably should have unassigned that order, but I made assumptions rather than asking questions. Fortunately, it did turn out okay for me in the end, but it may not have turned out the same for the next person. To recap, never hesitate to call support and have them unassign you from an order. They can do this at any stage during the delivery. Always share your location with somebody that you trust and have them check in on you from time to time. If you're feeling anything less than safe during a delivery, make sure somebody knows exactly where you are, and if they don't hear from you in a reasonable amount of time, tell them to take appropriate steps. Well, the stats don't look great for us. There are steps we can take to help mitigate the risks. Have you ever had a sketchy delivery? If so, I want to hear about it in the comments section below. Also, did I forget any safety tips? Be sure to share them with everybody else. If you haven't done so yet, please do consider pressing the like button and subscribing to the RideShare Guy. You can catch my videos here every Tuesday. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video next where I talk about the 3 biggest issues that plague delivery drivers in 2024. I'm Zach Drives Fast for the RideShare Guy. Take care.